Okay, today we are going to begin painting our pumpkins. We are going to be using a very long-handled paintbrush since we have such a big area to paint. We also do not need a placemat since our paper is so large. All of this extra space will kind of be our placemat where we can wipe our brush off. You don't have to worry about this. We're not doing anything in the background. So you're going to be getting 4 colors. You're going to get white, yellow, red, and brown. But where's the orange? You will be making your orange. So you are going to create an orange for your pumpkins using red and yellow. We always mix the darker color into the lighter color. If you mix yellow into the red, it's not going to change much, but just a little bit of red will really change how this yellow looks. So you can't just mix it like this and use it. It's not ready. If you see a bunch of swirls, it looks kind of marbled, that means it is not ready yet. So I want you to mix this up all in your little paint palette. Try to get rid of any of the bright yellow and mix yourself a color. If you think it's a little too yellow orange still, you can add some more red. You decide that pumpkin orange that you're going to get. So you don't want to make it too dark. You want to make sure that it's one solid color. So I'm going to stir this up. Now as you stir this, you can see how much mine has spread out. It wants to kind of spread. Just be careful of the red, be careful of the white because you do want to leave some of this white for some lighter areas. So when you paint, don't paint over the black lines. Try to stay in between the black lines. We will repaint the black lines later, but we need to know where the black lines are. So I'm just going to start by painting inside of each section of my pumpkin. So notice I'm using nice long paint strokes. So I'm going like back, up and down, kind of like back and forth, not pressing my bristles down too hard. Remember, keep those paint brushes up on their tippy toes. And it's okay if it goes a little bit on the black. Like I said, we will re-outline. So we're just going to start with just like the base color of orange that you had mixed. So I'm going from one section to the next. Be careful of where you're dipping so you don't accidentally dip into the wrong color. So you can see I'm kind of covering over my black. It still shows through, so it's not a big deal because the black is so dark, it really just still shows through. So not a big deal if you kind of cover over those black lines a bit. So now what we're gonna do is I'm going to go into these smaller sections. Notice I'm not leaving any white inside of my pumpkin. So going in these small areas, leaving no white spaces. So you want to paint this fairly quickly. We don't want to take too long on this because now what we're going to do is we're going to add some darker areas, some lighter areas. So I can add a little bit of darker by kind of mixing in a little bit more of the red with just part of my orange. It'll make more of like a red-orange color. And the darker part of the pumpkin is going to be kind of down at the bottom. So I'm not really thinking about making this any certain way. I'm just kind of adding a little bit of red to the bottom of my pumpkin. And then I'm gonna mix in a little bit of this orange on top so it's not too red, just to kind of get it a little darker. And you can see I kind of just blend it up into it. Friends, there's no right or wrong. We're just gonna kind of have fun with this and just add some texture to the pumpkins by adding some different colors so it's not just one solid color of orange. So now I have all this really dark color on my pumpkin. I might want to clean my brush off over here. If you used all of your yellow like I did, you might even want some more yellow. So now that I have some fresh yellow, I'm gonna dip in with some yellow and I'm going to add a little bit of yellow up at the top of my pumpkin, to make more of a brighter orange because the pumpkin is going to be lighter on the top. This will make it look even more three-dimensional because the lighter orange is at the top, and then we've got our darker orange at the bottom. And again, I'm not worrying too much about those black lines. You still want to be able to see them, but it's pretty, this paint is pretty transparent. So now that I have my yellow, I'm going to clean my brush off over here a little bit. I'm going to add just a little touch of white, and the white's going to kind of mix in the middle of the pumpkin a little bit, to kind of be like a little bit of a highlight where the light's kind of bouncing off of the pumpkin. And again, I'm letting it mix in. You can see my paper's starting to get a little bit crinkly because it's getting pretty wet with all this paint. So letting this mix in. Notice that I'm painting up and down. I'm not painting side to side at all. Keep painting up and down, just like our lines came from the stem. That's the way you want your paint strokes to go. And you can always go back and forth, like that's pretty white up there, so I'm going to add a little bit of that orange color to it. So now that I'm happy with how my pumpkin looks, I'm going to clean off my brush, and I'm going to use some of this brown. I'm going to put a little bit of brown at the very, very bottom of my pumpkin to make it even darker. I'm going to blend that out just a little bit. So not too much with the brown. And remember, we want to make sure we can still see where our black lines are. And if it gets a little too dark, remember you can clean your brush off and go over top with some of the other colors. And now I'm going to use my brown in my stem. It doesn't just have to be solid brown. You might add some other colors, maybe a little bit of orange or yellow in there, maybe even a few little white highlights too. And there you have it. There is my finished painted pumpkin. Remember, this can be used as your painting placemat to kind of clean your brush. Hopefully you can still see your black lines. We will re-outline these and cut them out once they are dry.